Building a team of volunteers can be hard, especially because they don't often have experience with live stream tech. So how do we make sure we set them up for success? In this video, I'm going to take you through my process for onboarding new tech volunteers. First off, a bit of commiseration. Running a team of volunteers is hard. It's hard to find them, it's hard to train them, it's hard to keep them. It's hard, but that's the reality that most of us live with as churches. And so we need to do our best to have a good attitude, to build a great team that does great things for a great God. But how do we find these great team members? Well, that's going to vary by church, of course, but a good place to start is to think about your church's overall attitude towards serving. If you're not prioritizing serving in general as an important part of being in your church family, finding volunteers is probably going to be pretty hard. Now, you're probably not the person who gets to make the decision on what your church's view towards serve teams are, but I do think that this is an important enough thing for your church that you should have a conversation with your pastor and leadership. If your church does make it clear that joining a serve team is really important, then awesome, you're halfway there. You also need to make sure that you're setting up opportunities for people to find out what those serve teams are and join them. If you're doing that, it's just a matter of making sure that your production live stream team is one of those serve teams they can find out about. You need to make sure it's clear that anyone can join the team regardless of skill level, because realistically, you're probably not going to find a lot of people with live broadcast experience. But you also want to make sure you're setting the expectation that this team is hard and you're going to learn new things and have to work hard in order to do that. We don't want to stop people from serving, but we do want to make sure that they know the expectations going into it. Okay, a few people signed up for the production team, hooray! But what now? You just hand them a camera and hope they don't break it? I hope not. When I get to this point, I like to meet with each person that signed up individually, whether that's a quick coffee chat or even just a phone call. I want to get a feel for them as a person, plus give them the opportunity to meet me, so I'm not just some faceless avatar on Planning Center. When we meet, I like to communicate the why behind the live stream, why we do what we do, and I'll probably make a video about that coming up soon. I also show them the what behind the live stream. What does a typical Sunday morning actually look like? What's the time commitment? What can I be expected to learn? I like to give them as much information up front so they know what they're actually signing up for. After we've talked through all of that, if they're still interested in serving, we get them signed up for a shadow rotation. Wow, I feel so fancy saying shadow rotation, like we're an official legit team or something weird. But really, it's nothing crazy. I just ask them to show up an hour or so early on a Sunday morning so that I can run through the system with them. And yes, I mean the entire system. I don't expect them to remember everything that I show them. They may not even use most of the things that I show them, but I want to put it all in front of them for a couple of reasons. One, they might actually have a weird amount of knowledge about one of the pieces that just didn't come up in a conversation before, and I'd like to know that. And two, I want to give them the chance to get excited about something. They may not be that excited about the cameras, but they may see the directing position and think, wow, that's super cool, and I want to do that. They may not do it right away, but knowing that it's an option can often push people to do better at the thing they are doing and get more involved. I then go into some specific hands-on training with the camera or whatever equipment they need to get trained on in order to do the job they're doing. I try to give them an opportunity to ask whatever questions they need to during this time, knowing that they may not remember every single answer, but the more times they hear things, the more comfortable they'll get with it. After we're done with that, the rest of the volunteers start to show up for the morning. So I'll usually hand the shadow off to them and let them watch and ask questions of the other team members. There's a couple reasons we do that. One, it helps them get to know the other people on the team. Nobody wants to serve on a team where they don't know anybody, and so this is a good way to inject them into the team in a natural way. And two, it gets them acquainted with the gear in a live setting. We do a full rehearsal, and so for them to be able to watch what's happening and maybe even get some hands-on time during that rehearsal in a no-pressure environment is really beneficial. After rehearsal is over, they stick around for our production team meeting to get a feel for that, and then they shadow during the actual church service as well. Afterwards, I have a chat with them about how they think things went. I try to get a feel for their comfort level and how excited they are about joining the team. If it feels like they're not quite ready, I may sign them up for another week of shadowing, or it might be time for them to get added to the team for real. I'll add them to Planning Center and then get them scheduled for a week. Their first week serving will be a lot like their shadowing week. They'll show up a little bit early and get some extra hands-on training with the cameras. I never expect people to remember everything one week to the next when they're first starting out, so I like to give them as many opportunities to ask questions and really get a lot of hands-on time. But after we go through that extra training, they're serving that morning during the church service. We like to define the positions really well so they know exactly what they're getting into and exactly what's going to be required of them during the morning. And voila, they're a fully fledged member of the team now. That doesn't mean they're going to stop learning, but it means that they're ready to go and they're on our schedule. So a couple of things I want to point out about that training process. One is I don't just train people on gear and then let them loose and hope everything goes well. I also make sure that I try to connect with them on a personal level and that they connect with other people on the team. People are much more likely to enjoy serving on a team and to do it well if they know and like the people that they're serving with. That means the other team members and you as a leader. People want to be part of a community, and that includes while they're on a serve team. Obviously, the technical aspects are important too, but the more comfortable somebody feels on a team, the better they're going to perform at those tasks. I'm sure a lot of those steps were pretty obvious, and honestly, there's probably a lot that I could do a better job of myself. If there's any that you can think of, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, I hope the tips in this video help you train your next batch of volunteers and build a team that you enjoy serving with week in and week out. Till next time.